From stem to stern, it was an aircraft of extraordinary beauty. Its Junkers Jumo 004 turbojet engines were state-of-the-art and mounted below the wing for easy access. The Tu-34 was initially launched from a T-shaped, three-wheel reusable trolley. High-speed taxi trials of the setup were successful, and the decision was taken to go ahead with actual flight testing. The skid provided a firm, suitable means of returning the plane to Earth. Landing runs were of normal length, but once airspeed died down, the jet invariably rolled to one side. In some tests, the trolley landing gear was fixed, but proved too heavy for the jet and performance worsened. Some landings resulted in near disaster. Because of the trolley's high center of gravity, control was easily lost and damage often resulted. The trolley's brakes were not very dependable, and they were also sensitive to a pilot with heavy feet. During test landings and all takeoffs, the trolley's balloon-like tires acted as shock absorbers for the heavy machine. There were distinct advantages and disadvantages to the skid landing gear in the early AR-234s. With it, a pilot could touch down on dirt, grass, snow, ice, almost anywhere. But after that, he had little control and no brakes at all. Keeping the aircraft upright tended to be more a matter of luck than skill. That feeling of helplessness and lack of control often made the final seconds of a landing a nail-biting experience. Nevertheless, hundreds of successful landings on all kinds of surfaces proved the skid functionally practical. In order to quell some of the concerns over braking, several test planes were fitted with a drag chute which deployed as soon as the aircraft hit the ground. Mounted in a ventral canister, the chute did reduce the landing run and was incorporated as a standard feature on all AR-234. Due to the scarcity of Junkers Jumo 004 jet engines, many having gone to the Messerschmitt 262, Arado turned to BMW for its new four-engined AR-234. The four BMWs provided a higher thrust-to-weight ratio and gave the Blitz a little more power. Early uncertainties about the skid gear led Arado to redesign the aircraft with a conventional tricycle arrangement. The resulting AR-234B, slightly larger but otherwise unchanged, had sturdy, retractable landing gear. Typical of first-generation jet engines, both the Junkers and BMW power plants were extremely thirsty. Range was always important, and in attempts to extend the Blitz's short time aloft, jettisonable 66-gallon fuel tanks were suspended from racks under the engines. The plane's 814-gallon internal fuel load was carried in two flexible rubberized tanks mounted in the fuselage. Maximum range varied between 415 miles at sea level and nearly 1,000 miles at 30,000 feet. The low thrust of the Junkers and BMW turbojets led to excessively long takeoff runs. Accordingly, the plane was often equipped with rocket-assisted takeoff, or RATO units. Each provided an extra 1,100 pounds of thrust. The rockets vastly improved jet performance, but once ignited, there was no turning back. They could, however, be jettisoned in an emergency. In normal operation following rocket burnout, the units were jettisoned by the pilot. But they had to release in unison because a hung rocket could send an imbalanced plane out of control. The RATO eggs were then recovered and prepared for reuse in a matter of hours. The AR-234 bomber, with 3 bombs and 2 RATO units attached, taxis out to the runway. 1 bomb is mounted under the fuselage, and 1 hangs from each engine nacelle. In October 1944, this Blitz was still a novelty. Pilot Horst Goetz is seen preparing for a reconnaissance mission over Allied targets, while the ground crew and casual observers cluster around the plane's transparent nose. The AR-234 was only vulnerable to attack during takeoff or landing. And this did happen. Both American and British fighters claimed AR-234 kills. Most were surprise attacks against unsuspecting Luftwaffe flyers who only realized the danger when it was too late. A Kettenkrad tracked vehicle assigned to Sommer's unit was used at Biblis during the winter of 1944 to collect jettisoned RATO pods. Sommer's covered AR-234 endured heavy snowfalls. Landings and takeoffs from this facility were dangerous because of the narrow slot, leaving no room for human or mechanical failure. AR-234 missions continued unabated. As a bomber, it attacked the Allies at Remagen. The Blitz's speed made it one of the only German weapons left that could operate with relative impunity.